Right guys, welcome back to another video here. So this is going to be a daytime workout at the hotel gym. So if you've just seen a couple of videos ago, I did actually do biceps. That was much more on the cables. I did do a little bit of incline curls, but this here is a little bit different. So here it's just basically a strict standard single arm curl. And to confirm here, you can see I'm using 22.5 kilos. So nothing crazy heavy at all. I'll often do these up to sort of 30 kg when I'm in a full bulk, feeling strong. But this is just to basically confirm that this gym or this hotel does have up to 25 kgs. So yeah, pretty nice and definitely better than what I've dealt with in the past, which is somewhere up to sort of 15 kilos, which is just extremely difficult to hit fatigue on those muscle groups. So definitely grateful to be able to have that. And honestly, what I was going to talk about in this video is, do I think it's important to vary your bicep training and also attachments and other things like that? So the main answer I'm going to say is no. I think that the most important thing is just, do you enjoy the exercise and do you get a good pump from it, and are you able to progress it if you're trying to build muscle? So if you're trying to diet and lose body fat as your main goal, then all you should really be focused on is maintaining that muscle. So what I'm saying there is, if you can comfortably do this exercise and you don't find yourself with consistent injury, or you don't find yourself getting weaker and weaker, or you don't notice that your pump isn't as good, then those are all reasons why you should keep doing it, because there's nothing really going wrong. But if you're someone that constantly gets bored, or you find that you're just absolutely stuck on a certain exercise even though your body weight's going up and your calories are going up, then obviously those are reasons as to why you should perhaps change it out. So when thinking about changing a movement, you don't have to completely change it. You could even do something as going from double arm to single arm. You could go from a standard grip to a neutral grip. You could also go from doing it on a dumbbell to doing it on a cable. So if you like a specific movement, or you enjoy, for example, doing a single arm curl, then try a single arm cable curl instead. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to actually keep the exercise the same, but change the rep range around a little bit. So that's something which, to be honest, I would advise doing probably before you just completely switch an exercise out, if it's something that you've got on really well with in the past. So that's because that small change can actually just be enough to really kickstart another movement of growth through that exercise, increasing your strength, increasing your muscle mass, and obviously that is absolutely ideal. But if that doesn't work, you could reduce the rest times, you could actually decrease or increase the number of sets. But after trying a few things there, if none of those really work, then it kind of becomes evident that perhaps it is best to change the exercise out. So another change that I've just thought of is actually you could move the order that you do the exercise in the session. So if you're typically doing it second or third, you could move it first or even last, and that is going to dramatically change the feeling, because if you do it first, you're going to feel a lot more fresh, you're going to probably be able to move a lot more weight, whereas if you do it last, you're going to be a lot more fatigued and therefore probably more likely to actually be okay with a lighter weight. So strategically moving it around the actual session itself can be good, and then also moving that session around in the week. So perhaps you just find that you're getting really fatigued on a certain exercise, but that's because it's at the end of your training week. So maybe moving that around, you then find that in that session now you've got way more energy, and doing it at the start of the week or at the start of your training block or your training cycle, whatever, you just feel a lot more productive. So there's a few ideas there. Obviously, if you're already on cables, you can look to change the attachment in so many different ways. So even looking at D handles, you've got various different D handles. You've got plastic ones, you've got metal ones, you've got cuffs, you've got a double rope which you can do hammer curls on, you've got a single rope that you can do single hammer curls, all sorts of stuff there. And one thing that I'd really recommend, if you haven't done already, guys, is actually starting to use and utilize a bench in your workout. So I know sometimes that can be a little bit tedious, but actually I didn't even realize, but I'm doing that exact thing pretty much in the session now, is using a bench, and that creates a lot more stability. And for me, the main thing is it just allows me to control my breathing a little bit more and not engage my core. So I find that if I'm trying to do really solid sets of standing cable curls, oftentimes because I'm very strong in my biceps, I need to load a lot of weight, and especially when I'm dieting, because I'm losing body fat and then my overall weight is going down due to that fat being stripped off, it's a little bit more difficult for me to keep myself in place, because obviously my overall weight is diminishing. So you know, it makes sense. Obviously, if you try and move something which is a lot of weight, as you know, it's going to take more effort. So the same thing there. If the machine is trying to pull me in a certain direction, if I'm heavier, then there's going to be kind of less core engagement and less stress on the rest of the body. So I find that in a diet, I can just pull up a bench and really sit down and isolate that movement there. And even sometimes I'll kind of push my feet up against the cable machine to really make sure I'm locked into place. And as I said, if you haven't tried it, definitely give it a go. It's not something that I'd want to do for a couple sets, because obviously, as I said, it takes a while to actually set up. But once you're set up there, I would really say it's worth just spending a bit of time and fatiguing that muscle in that range of motion. So yeah, great pump on the cables. And honestly, recently especially, I haven't been using cables as much. Either the gyms have just been pretty busy on the cable machines, or if I've been training at hotels or apartments or anything like that, then for some reason they just haven't had many cables. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to in the future. But, you know, not trying to wish the current training away, because it's good to have difference in your training at certain times. But obviously, coming back to the main theme is don't force it if necessary. I think that's kind of the main point is, you know, if you fancy a change, if you want to try something, if you think that it'll benefit you, then that's great. But don't feel that just because you see people constantly varying exercises, or on Instagram they're showing different tutorials or things like that, that doesn't mean that they're doing that every single week. So yeah, speaking from experience, I might teach someone how to do a certain exercise, or obviously I might have knowledge on most exercises that people would want to execute, but that doesn't mean I'm actually doing them all, and that doesn't mean I would recommend them. But, you know, for certain people that might be beneficial. You know, single arm stuff is great for people that play specific sports and they need to work on that unilateral strength, or if someone's got an injury, etc. So that's just one example of how something could be great for someone, but, you know, without you understanding their background, you don't really know the exact reason why they've put it in there. And, you know, sometimes it's not that deep. Sometimes it can just be purely they enjoy the pump, or, you know, someone's doing that because they just enjoy the exercise. It doesn't have to be the craziest reason in the world, but obviously the more reasons you can kind of put down on paper as to why something is worth keeping in the plan, then yeah, it makes sense to keep it in there. So don't be afraid to switch things out. Don't be afraid to try new exercises, and also don't be afraid to do an exercise which you don't see other people doing often. If it works for you, then just crack on with it, and, you know, absolutely use it to the extreme and to the best of your ability. Make it work for you, and, you know, capitalize on that exercise. So physique update here. I think I am floating around 210 to 215 pounds. I think it's closer to 215. So just under 3 weeks now, pretty much left on this dieting phase. So not a huge amount of body fat to come off, but yeah, these last 3 weeks I am pushing it to the absolute max, and you're going to see in the next few videos just cardio gets ramped up, training sessions stay nice and long, and basically my volume throughout the week stays at kind of usually 7 days, but minimum 6 days if I'm traveling to a different island, etc. So I do really think for me that's been the key during this cut, has not been dropping calories too quickly, because overall my appetite has still been quite high and the food here is just absolutely insane. So it is in my best interest, I believe, to keep the calories as high as possible, whereas in the past I haven't had a problem with just dropping them around 2,000, sometimes even 1,900. But at this point in time, I'm trying to keep them around 2,300, lowest 2,200. And when I say this point in time, that is just towards the end of this diet. So I can't comment on exactly how many calories I was on this day, because as I'm doing this voiceover, it's a little bit in the past. But if you watch the video in the next couple of days, I'll definitely talk about it. And I'm starting to add a few more of my meals and things that I buy into these videos. So yeah, that is pretty much it, guys. If you've got any more suggestions for places for me to go while I'm in Thailand, whether that be restaurants or gyms, then let me know, because if I don't make it on this trip, then I'll definitely be sure to have a look in the future, because yeah, just definitely going to be coming back here. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and as always, the only way is up.